Imagine for a moment that everything you've been struggling with, the fears, the failures, the moments that kept you up at night, isn't holding you back. What if, just what if, your biggest problem, the one that feels impossible, unfair, and crushing, is actually the very thing that's preparing you to win? What if this struggle, this pressure, this challenge is not your enemy, but your ultimate opportunity? Tonight, I want you to open your mind and heart, because the very thing you've been running from could be the reason you're about to rise higher than you ever dreamed possible. Let me ask you something, and don't answer it out loud, answer it honestly inside yourself. What if the thing you've been calling your biggest problem, the thing you replay in your mind at night, the thing that makes you feel frustrated, stuck, or even defeated, what if that is not a punishment? What if it's not bad luck? What if it's not life being unfair to you? What if it's a signal? Most people treat problems like final verdicts. They look at a challenge and immediately label it as a life sentence. This is just how my life is. But that belief alone is what keeps them trapped. Because the moment you decide something is a sentence, you stop listening. And when you stop listening, you stop growing. Life is always communicating with you. Every emotion you feel, every obstacle you face, every pattern that keeps repeating, none of it is random. Problems are feedback. They're messages saying, pay attention. There's something here for you. And the people who win in life are not the ones who have fewer problems. They're the ones who learn how to read the message faster. Think about it. If something keeps showing up in your life again and again, it's not because you're cursed, it's because there's a lesson you haven't fully integrated yet. Life will repeat the test until you pass it. And most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they keep asking the wrong question. They ask, why is this happening to me? That question drains power. It puts you in the role of a victim. But the moment you shift the question to, what is this trying to teach me? Everything changes. Now you're in control. Now you're the student instead of the casualty. Your problem is not there to stop you. It's there to shape you. And the size of the problem often reveals the size of the person you're meant to become. You don't get small challenges if you're meant for a small life. Big lives require big internal strength, and strength is forged, not given. Look back at the moments in your life where you grew the most. It probably wasn't when everything was easy. It wasn't when you were comfortable. Growth doesn't come from comfort. It comes from pressure. Just like muscles grow by resistance, your character grows the same way. Without resistance, there is no expansion. But here's where most people misunderstand their problems. They think the problem is the enemy. So they fight it, complain about it, avoid it, or numb themselves to it. And in doing so, they miss the opportunity hidden inside it. Because the problem isn't saying you're not enough. It's saying you're capable of more. When you see a problem as a signal, you start to decode it. Maybe it's showing you where you need stronger boundaries. Maybe it's revealing a belief that no longer serves you. Maybe it's forcing you to develop discipline, courage, patience, or self-respect. Whatever it is, the problem is pointing you toward a higher standard of who you must become to win. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. If the problem disappeared tomorrow, but you stayed the same, it would show up again in a different form. That's why success without growth never lasts. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your identity. Your problem is exposing the gap between who you are now and who you're capable of being. And that gap, that's where transformation lives. Winners don't deny their problems. They don't pretend they don't hurt. They feel the pain, but they don't let the pain define them. They use it as data. They ask, what is this pain demanding I change? Because pain is the ultimate motivator. It's life's way of saying, this must shift now. If you ignore the signal, pain increases. If you listen, pain becomes progress. And let me be clear, seeing your problem as a signal doesn't mean you enjoy it. It means you respect it. It means you recognize that this moment is refining you, that this challenge is building something inside you that comfort never could. Some of the strongest people you admire didn't start strong. They were shaped by adversity. Their confidence came from surviving uncertainty. Their clarity came from confusion. Their resilience came from being knocked down and choosing to stand up again, stronger, wiser, and more focused. So when life hands you a problem, don't rush to escape it. Pause long enough to ask what it's revealing about you, because embedded in that struggle is information you cannot get any other way. And once you extract that lesson, the problem loses its power over you. The moment you stop seeing your problem as a sentence and start seeing it as a signal, you reclaim your power. And that shift alone can change everything. Let's talk about something most people spend their entire lives running from. Pain. Not the kind you can ignore or distract yourself from, but the kind that sits in your chest, the kind that changes the way you see yourself, the kind that forces you to stop pretending everything is fine. That pain. Because here's the truth no one tells you straight. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is the doorway. Every meaningful purpose in life is born through discomfort. There is no awakening without pressure, no clarity without confusion, no strength without strain. Yet most people spend their days trying to numb the very thing that could set them free. They avoid the pain, suppress it, medicate it, scroll past it, or bury it under excuses. And in doing so, they delay their own breakthrough. Pain shows up when something in your life is misaligned. It's a signal that says this way of being is no longer sustainable. And when you listen to it instead of fighting it, pain becomes a guide. It directs you toward growth. It pushes you to evolve. It demands a higher version of you. Think about the moments that changed you forever, the heartbreak that forced you to rediscover your worth, the failure that humbled you and sharpened your focus, the loss that stripped away illusion and revealed what truly matters. Those moments hurt, but they also shaped you. They expanded your capacity. They deepened your character. They moved you closer to who you were meant to become. Purpose doesn't arrive wrapped in comfort. It arrives disguised as struggle. And most people miss it because they're too busy asking, how do I make this stop? Instead of asking, what is this unlocking inside me? Here's the shift that changes everything. Pain is not here to punish you. It's here to prepare you. It's life's way of forging strength at a deeper level. Just like fire tempers steel, pain tempers the human spirit. Without heat, the metal stays weak. Without adversity, potential stays dormant. When pain hits, you have two choices. You can let it hard, end you, close you off, and turn you bitter. Or you can let it open you, refine you, and turn you wiser. The pain itself doesn't determine the outcome. Your response does. Most people collapse under pain because they think something has gone wrong. But what if nothing is wrong? What if this discomfort is exactly what's required for the next chapter of your life? What if the breakdown is actually the breakthrough trying to emerge? Pain strips away illusions. It forces honesty. It reveals what's real and what's been built on fear. And that honesty is powerful because you can't change what you won't confront. Pain forces confrontation with your habits, your beliefs, your standards, and your excuses. And let's be real, growth is uncomfortable. Reinventing yourself means letting go of who you've been. It means releasing familiar patterns, outdated identities, and comfortable limitations. That hurts. But staying the same hurts too. The difference is one pain leads to purpose and the other leads to regret. When you stop running from pain and start walking through it, something incredible happens. You realize you're stronger than you thought. You realize the pain didn't come to destroy you. It came to reveal you. Beneath the fear, beneath the doubt, beneath the discomfort is a deeper sense of clarity, a deeper sense of direction. Pain forces you to ask better questions. It demands that you raise your standards. It pushes you to make decisions you've been avoiding. And in that moment of decision, purpose begins to take shape. This is why the people who impact the world most deeply often have the deepest wounds. They've been to the edge. They felt the fire, and instead of letting it consume them, they let it refine them. Their pain became their fuel. Their struggle became their strength. The moment you decide pain will shape you instead of break you, you reclaim control. You stop seeing yourself as fragile and start seeing yourself as forged. You realize this discomfort is not random, it's directional. And when you embrace that truth, pain stops being something you fear and becomes the gateway to who you're meant to be. Now, let me take you even deeper because this is where most people either step into their power or talk themselves out of it. If you really understood this next truth, you would stop questioning whether you're capable and start trusting that life knows exactly what it's doing. The challenges you're facing right now are not random. They are specific, they are precise, and they are preparing you for the life you say you want. Life doesn't hand you experiences by accident, it trains you. Every obstacle is a rehearsal. Every setback is conditioning, and the intensity of what you're facing is directly related to the level you're meant to operate at. You are not being tested because you're weak. You're being tested because you're ready. Think about it. You don't train for a championship by lifting light weights. You don't build endurance by avoiding resistance. Training is uncomfortable by design. And life works the same way. It stretches you where you're underdeveloped. It pressures you where you need strength. It exposes you to situations that demand skills you haven't fully mastered yet. The problem you're dealing with right now is not blocking your future. It's building the muscles you'll need to live it. Patience, discipline, emotional control, resilience, courage. These traits aren't taught in moments of ease. They're trained in moments of pressure. And life gives you the exact pressure required. Most people underestimate themselves because they don't realize they're in training. They think the struggle means they're behind. In reality, it means they're being prepared. The weight feels heavy because it's designed to make you stronger. And if it wasn't heavy, it wouldn't change you. Have you noticed that the moment you ask for more, more success, more freedom, more impact. Life responds with more responsibility, more challenges, more demand. That's not rejection, that's alignment. Life says if you want more, you must become more. And becoming more requires training. The mistake people make is wishing the training would stop before the transformation is complete. They quit in the middle of conditioning. They look at the discomfort and decide it's a sign to retreat. Growth happens when you stay in the process long enough for the strength to catch up with the demand. Every version of your future self requires a different skill set. And the only way to develop those skills is through experience. Life doesn't download wisdom into your mind. It builds it into your nervous system through repetition, challenge, and adversity. Right now, you're being trained to handle something bigger. Maybe it's leadership. Maybe it's responsibility. Maybe it's influence. Maybe it's peace. But whatever it is, the current version of you needed refinement to sustain it. So life stepped in as the coach, and coaches don't pamper champions. They push them, they challenge them, they demand focus, consistency, and discipline, not because they want to break them, but because they see what the athlete could become if they endure the process. Your struggle is not evidence that you're unqualified. It's evidence that you're being prepared. And the sooner you stop resisting the training, the faster you grow into the person who can win at the next level. Think about the habits you're developing right now. The emotional regulation you're learning, the boundaries you're being forced to set, the priorities you're clarifying. None of that would have happened without the challenge. Comfort would have kept you exact. Fly where you were. Life doesn't elevate people who haven't been conditioned to handle elevation. It doesn't give responsibility without building reliability. It doesn't grant freedom without teaching discipline. The training always comes first. And here's the part that changes how you see everything. The future you is already inside you. The training you're experiencing is simply activating what's dormant. The pressure is not adding something new. It's revealing what was already there. When you understand that, the fear begins to dissolve. You stop asking, can I handle this? And start realizing this is happening because I can. The challenge didn't arrive by mistake. It arrived by qualification. So instead of shrinking under the weight, stand taller. Instead of complaining about the pressure, use it. Let it sharpen you. Let it discipline you. Let it prepare you. Because one day you'll look back at this season and realize it wasn't trying to stop you at all. It was training you to win. Let's get honest for a moment, because this is where most people get stuck. They fight life, resist reality, and spend so much energy wishing things were different that they forget the one thing that actually changes everything: ownership. The moment you stop resisting your story is the moment you start reclaiming your power. Most people think the problem is outside of them, something to complain about, something to avoid, something to fix. But the truth is, the real transformation begins inside. It begins when you say, this is my life, these are my circumstances, and I will own them fully. When you resist, you suffer twice. You suffer from the problem itself, and you suffer from your refusal to face it. Resistance creates suffering because it's energy spent pushing against reality, energy that could have been used to transform reality. When you fight what is, you remain stuck in what isn't. But the moment you own what is, a door opens, a door that leads straight to power, clarity, and action. Ownership doesn't mean you like what's happening. It doesn't mean you accept defeat. It doesn't mean you ignore injustice. It simply means you stop giving your power away. You stop waiting for someone else to fix it, and you start asking, what can I do right now to change the impact this situation has on me? Ownership is not passive. It's the most active, aggressive, and strategic step you can take toward changing your life. Let me tell you something most people never realize. When you own your story, the world stops controlling your emotions. You stop blaming, complaining, and reacting. You stop letting your circumstances dictate your feelings. Instead, you dictate your feelings, and through them, your actions. And that's where true freedom lives. Think about it. Every time you've allowed life to push you around, it's because you handed your power over to the story you were telling yourself. You said this shouldn't be happening to me. Ori don't deserve this, or why me? And each of those phrases, while seemingly natural, is a surrender. It's a way of saying, I am at the mercy of life instead of I am in control of how I respond to life. Now imagine shifting that perspective. Imagine saying, this is happening and I will make it work for me. Suddenly the same circumstances become tools instead of obstacles. The struggle that once seemed unbearable becomes a teacher. The setback that once felt like failure becomes the blueprint for growth. When you take ownership, the story flips. You stop being a character in someone else's script and start writing your own. And here's the kicker: ownership is contagious. When you own your story, it changes how the world sees you. People respond to certainty, to power, to accountability. Leaders emerged not because circumstances were perfect, but because they refused to be victims. They refused to wait for life to hand them an opportunity. They stepped in, claimed responsibility, and turned adversity into advantage. But there's a subtle point most people miss. Ownership requires brutal honesty. You have to look at your choices, your patterns, your repeated mistakes, and say, I am responsible for this part of my life. Not everything is your fault, but everything is your responsibility. And there is a massive difference between fault and responsibility. Responsibility is liberating. Fault is binding. Responsibility says, I can do something about it. Fault says, I am stuck because of it. Winners embrace responsibility, and that's why they always rise. Once you take ownership, you gain clarity. You stop wasting energy on excuses, and you start allocating energy on solutions. You stop complaining about what's missing, and you start acting on what's available. You stop wishing people would understand or support you, and you start building a life that doesn't require permission. Ownership is the foundation of all transformation because it eliminates helplessness and replaces it with power. And here's the most important part. Owning your story doesn't just transform your results, it transforms your inner world. It transforms how you feel about yourself, about others, and about the challenges you face. Ownership turns fear into courage, frustration into focus, and confusion into clarity. It allows you to move from surviving to thriving, from reacting to creating, from hoping to achieving. Most people resist their story because it hurts. They resist because it's uncomfortable. They resist because they're afraid of what they might see if they look too closely. But the truth is, the deeper the pain, the greater the opportunity. The moment you face your story, EMB, raise your responsibility and take ownership, you turn what once seemed like a burden into a launch pad. The very thing you were running from becomes the force that propels you forward. And here's the final reality. Life will always test you, push you, and challenge you. But the people who rise above don't rise because life treated them kindly. They rise because they stopped resisting, stopped blaming, and started owning. The difference between struggle and success is the decision to step fully into your story and claim it as your own. When you own your story completely, you no longer play small, you no longer wait for approval, and you no longer allow circumstances to define your worth. You step into the only space where true power exists, the space of complete responsibility for your life and your results, and that is the moment you become unstoppable. Let's dive into something most people completely miss when life gets tough. You see, it's not the circumstances themselves that determine your destiny, it's the meaning you give to those circumstances. Two people can face the exact same challenge, same setback, same betrayal, same loss, and one will crumble while the other will rise. The difference isn't luck, timing, or resources, it's meaning. Meaning is the engine of human behavior, the lens through which everything is interpreted, and the force that determines whether you survive or thrive. Most people live their lives reacting to events instead of interpreting them. They see a problem and instantly assign a meaning. This is terrible, this is unfair, I don't deserve this. Because meaning drives emotion, emotion drives action, and action drives results. Their life unfolds exactly according to that meaning. If your meaning is that life is against you, you will feel powerless. If your meaning is that life is testing you, you will feel motivated. If your meaning is that life is shaping you, you will feel unstoppable. The first step to mastering meaning is awareness. Notice how you interpret the events around you. Notice the internal dialogue that forms in your mind the moment things go wrong. That voice, the one that says, why me, or this is impossible, is not truth. It's an interpretation, and interpretations are flexible. They can be challenged, shifted, and redefined. Here's the truth. Your problems don't carry intrinsic meaning. They only have the meaning you give them. And the moment you realize this, the power shifts back to you. Because if meaning is what shapes your reality, then choosing a different meaning changes everything. You don't have to wait for circumstances to be perfect to feel empowered. You can create empowerment from within right now by assigning meaning that serves you. Think about it. Every great success story involves a redefinition of meaning. People who overcome enormous obstacles don't necessarily have easier lives. They simply assign a more empowering meaning to their struggles. Failure is not the end of the world, it's feedback. Pain is not a punishment, it's a teacher. Rejection is not a verdict on your worth, it's an opportunity to redirect. These people understand that meaning is not discovered, it's created. And here's something most people underestimate. The meaning you give your circumstances affects more than just your mindset. It affects your physiology, your energy, your relationships, and your ability to execute. When you assign an empowering meaning, your body responds. Your nervous system becomes resilient instead of reactive. Your heart opens instead of closing. Your mind becomes creative instead of constrained. Meaning shapes reality in ways that go far beyond simple thinking. It shapes who you become in every interaction with the world. But let's get real. Changing meaning it's not about lying to yourself or pretending life is easy. It's about interpretation, perspective, and narrative. It's about deciding to see the opportunity inside the challenge instead of the obstacle. It's about asking, what can I learn from this? How can this make me stronger, wiser, and more capable? Those questions are not theoretical, they are transformative. They shift the way your nervous system responds, the way your decisions are made, and the way your life unfolds. Most people resist this truth because it requires responsibility. It's easier to blame the circumstances, the people, or the timing. But blaming is a surrender. Assigning empowering meaning is taking ownership. It's saying no matter what happens, I will control how I interpret it, how I respond to it, and what I allow it to create in me. That is the moment you step from victimhood into mastery. Let's take a moment to understand the power of meaning in action. Imagine you lose a job. The initial reaction might be panic, frustration, or fear, but what if the meaning you gave it was different? What if you said, this is the push I needed to find something bigger, better, and more aligned with who I truly am? Instantly, the situation transforms from disaster to opportunity. The emotion changes, your energy changes, your decisions change, and the results begin to change. You're no longer waiting for life to get better. You're creating better from the inside out. And the truth is, life will always provide situations to interpret. There will always be stress, conflict, and unexpected challenges. The question is never whether you will face them. It's how you will assign meaning when they appear. Because the meaning you assign doesn't just determine how you feel in the moment, it determines the trajectory of your life. The most successful people in the world understand this intuitively. They don't let circumstances dictate their emotional state. They don't let setbacks define their identity. They assign meaning intentionally, strategically, and consistently. They understand that the same event can create a winner or a loser depending entirely on the story told about it. And here's the most profound part. Once you take control of meaning, you take control of the future. You no longer wait for external conditions to be perfect to feel empowered. You no longer let challenges dictate your mood, your choices, or your vision. You assign meaning in a way that serves your growth, your resilience, and your purpose. And suddenly, life becomes a series of opportunities, not a series of problems. Meaning is not abstract, it is practical. It is the lever that determines whether a problem breaks you or builds you. It is the difference between collapse and breakthrough. It is the secret weapon that allows ordinary people to accomplish extraordinary results. And the moment you understand that meaning is yours to assign, everything changes. So the next time you face a challenge, a setback, or a moment of despair, stop and ask yourself, what meaning am I giving this? Am I letting it define me, or am I choosing to let it refine me? Because when you take control of meaning, you take control of everything. And that is the moment victory begins. Now listen carefully, because this is the moment where most people stumble, the moment where victory is decided long before the final outcome appears. People spend their entire lives waiting for the perfect time, waiting for everything to align, waiting for external validation, thinking that success is somewhere down the road. And in doing so, they delay the most important moment, the moment where winning actually begins. Victory doesn't start with the outcome. Victory starts with a decision. It starts with a choice to see what's happening. Not as something happening to you, but as something happening for you. Every challenge, every setback, every frustration, every failure you've experienced has been preparing you for something greater. And the moment you decide that these experiences are not your punishment, but your preparation, everything changes. The power shifts from life outside you to the strength inside you. The second you decide, you stop surviving and start creating. You stop reacting and start leading. You stop hoping and start acting. That is where winning begins, right in your mind, in your heart, in your choice. Most people delay this decision because they are waiting for certainty, but certainty is a myth. Life will never give you perfect conditions. There will always be obstacles. There will always be fear. There will always be doubt. Winners don't wait for certainty. They create it in the moment by deciding to step forward anyway. They understand that the first step of victory is the decision to engage fully with the challenge, to embrace it, to see it as the fuel that will carry them forward. Let me tell you something most people don't get. The moment you decide that life is happening for you, not against you, you shift your entire energy. Your nervous system, your emotions, your clarity, and your focus all change instantly. Suddenly, what seemed impossible becomes a challenge to solve. Suddenly, what seemed overwhelming becomes a problem you can break down piece by piece. Suddenly, fear becomes excitement. And that is the power of the decision, the power to redefine reality before reality even changes. Every champion you've ever admired, every person who has ever achieved something extraordinary, made this decision long before the first win appeared. They decided to see their circumstances as preparation. They decided to see their struggles as opportunities. They decided to see themselves as capable even when the world said otherwise. That decision, simple in theory, profound in practice, is where greatness is born. You may be thinking, but it's so hard, the pain is too much, the problem is too big, how can I possibly decide this is happening for me? That is exactly the point. The magnitude of your challenge is proportional to the magnitude of the person you are becoming. The larger the obstacle, the greater the opportunity. And when you decide that this is happening for you, you no longer fear the size of the challenge, you rise to meet it. You don't just endure, it refines you. You don't just survive, it trains you. Deciding this is happening for you is not about denying reality. It's not about pretending life is easy. It's about claiming your power within reality. It's about seeing the hand of opportunity behind the apparent obstacle. It's about recognizing that every setback, every rejection, every frustration is actually a step towards something greater if you choose to see it that way. And that choice, the choice to see, to embrace, to act, is where your life shifts from ordinary to extraordinary. Think about it for a moment. How often have you waited for permission to act, for proof that you're ready, for external validation that you deserve more? That waiting is what keeps most people trapped. They look outside themselves for assurance, for timing, for guarantees. But the truth is, victory doesn't wait for readiness. It begins in the decision to move forward despite uncertainty. Winners make the decision first, and the circumstances catch up later. And here's another key point. Deciding this is happening for you creates momentum. Once you make that choice, your energy aligns with action. Fear no longer paralyzes you. Doubt no longer stops you. You start seeing possibilities where before you saw limits. You start asking, what can I do now? How can I make this work? How can I turn this challenge into an advantage? And that is how momentum builds. That is how small wins compound into life-changing breakthroughs. Most people underestimate the importance of this decision because they think winning is about talent, luck, or timing. But those are secondary. The primary driver of victory is the internal choice to see every experience as preparation, to see every obstacle as training, to see yourself as capable before anyone else does. That decision is what transforms struggle into strength, failure into feedback, and challenges into triumphs. Let me be blunt. The longer you wait to make this decision, the longer you delay your own success. Waiting for life to feel easier is waiting for a moment that may never come. Waiting for external validation is giving your power away. Waiting for the perfect moment is missing the point entirely. Victory is not a moment. It is a decision that becomes a momentum that shapes everything that follows. And here's the beauty of it. The moment you make this choice, you no longer feel powerless. You no longer feel like life is controlling you. You step into a space of clarity, energy, and confidence that allows you to act with purpose. You begin to see opportunities hidden within challenges. You begin to take actions that align with the person you are becoming, not the person you were yesterday. That is how you transform adversity into advantage, setbacks into strategy, and problems into power. So right now, in this moment, you have a choice. You can continue to see your problems as obstacles that block you, or you can decide they are the tools that will elevate you. You can choose to react, complain, and wait, or you can choose to act, learn, and grow. You can see life as happening to you, or you can see life as happening for you. The decision is simple, but the impact is enormous. Victory begins with that choice.